As a certified appreciator of the Animal Crossing series, I get asked the question a lot, what is Animal Crossing? And my response, what isn't Animal Crossing? A video game, a movie, a Build-A-Bear, a news report, an ice cream dish, a presidential campaign, a cringy SNL skit, get that off the screen. In the modern day, Animal Crossing has become everything, and I mean everything. It's one of Nintendo's most profitable and iconic properties. But it wasn't always like this. 20 years ago, the first Animal Crossing was a game doing well on a console that wasn't, run by anthros that would yell obscene phrases at you, a dancing gyroid outside your house, and headwear glued to your skull. You had this mole threatening cardiac arrest for not saving, this naked dog who called you Daddy-O, and this raccoon who indentured you without a choice.
Voyan, he's actually a tanuki?
Yes, and you're actually adopted. Moving on. Animal Crossing was weird. Its entire existence was weird. It was a game nobody asked for, but everyone instantly made room for. I'm not lying when I say Nintendo had basically cut out a genre in the market. It couldn't really be described familiarly to anyone, yet when they actually played it, it was love at first sight. And I personally just think that's so emblematic of Nintendo to create this strange activity and still have it land successfully. But of course, that was well before Animal Crossing went mainstream. Now wait just a minute. If you think the whole moral of this video is going to be Animal Crossing was so much cooler before it was mainstream, well, no, at least not from the gatekeeping hipster perspective. Honestly, gatekeeping media is a really odd behavior that no grown adult should practice, and just because something gets popular doesn't make it inherently weaker. But Animal Crossing might be a special exception. New Horizons. Plot twist, it's just the 3-year retrospective. Not only the newest game, but the best-selling by far. The game that made Animal Crossing into a household name. Like shit, my mom asked me about it. You think she plays games? The only catch is, all of that stuff we talked about from the GameCube? Gone, for the most part, and in its place, a light sandbox social sim hybrid. At some point between these two games, first and last, the values of the series started to change. So, how and why? What happened to the mean villagers or Mr. Rossetti? When did customizing become such a big deal? Alright, let's go back to the GameCube. After the GameCube, Iguchi thought, if this game series could do so well on a poorly selling console, imagine how good it could do on a thriving one. Boom! Animal Crossing Wild World. Bunch of sales, bunch of copies, everyone loves it. You might even say the game was mainstream as early as this point. Then Iguchi once again said, imagine how well this series could do on a console if it were like a super generationally popular phenomenon. Okay, so they had to rework things a little bit. And New Leaf went ahead and did that, offering a game that revolved around the player. As the mayor, you had a ton of options, customizing the town, customizing yourself, picking the rules, and of course, in a mixed model with traditional Animal Crossing elements. But it was the personalization that was bringing in the casual crowd. That was the element that stole the show, obviously. What person doesn't want to make the game all about themselves? Not me, homie, I love that shit. New Leaf would kind of be a turning point for the series, where Nintendo compared these two games side by side and quickly understood what was happening. Because after that, they were going to release the game that would be the biggest departure for the series, and it would absolutely kill it. Animal Crossing New Horizons was already destined to break the bank. Fans loved the previous entry, many people owned Switches, word of mouth spread it even more, and all under Nintendo's fantastic series of marketing over the course of a year and a half. It was always going to have the top spot. It didn't need any help, and yet somehow in those weeks leading up to the game, well, you know what happened.
The breaking news, stay at home. That is the order tonight from 4 state governors as the coronavirus pandemic spreads. New York, California, Illinois, and Connecticut all ordering non-essential employees to stay home. Those orders cover 75 million people across the United States.
In those first few weeks of lockdown, you couldn't even call Animal Crossing mainstream. It was just Maine. It was life, it was work, it was social time. I know I'm not alone when I say that my actual real blood-flowing existence took a backseat to my island and villagers. All of a sudden, this therapeutic game about doing meaningless stuff in your own version of paradise was sought after by everyone. Everyone. Okay, look. I'm just going to summarize this because I've said it a bunch already. The game definitely had a lot of flaws. It still does. It's a great game, just maybe not the best Animal Crossing game. However, New Horizons offering a safe haven during the pandemic was goddamn beautiful and really cool coincidental timing. Do I think COVID is responsible for Animal Crossing becoming the giant it is? No, like I said, it was always destined for stardom, but it definitely helped. What actually made Animal Crossing popular was how it changed over the years to better market itself. See, the team behind Animal Crossing eventually started listening to the feedback about the games and used it to optimize the widest possible audience they could. Not shocking, typical company stuff. And it's mostly good adjustments too, inclusive options, hemisphere differences, the return of holidays, removing grass deterioration, and also, what was that game? New Leaf? A result entirely built upon negative fan feedback of city folk? But that's also where they figured out things like customization were key to drawing in more people, basically making you the game. Where earlier Animal Crossing games just threw you in a town and said, good luck, idiot, in New Leaf and Horizons, you are the town or the islander. Let me put it like this. Old Animal Crossing games could be described as making the most of a situation. The newer games are just making the situation. You're the mayor or you've received the island getaway package. And while I think that's cool to have so much control, it meant other core traits had to be sacrificed in the process. The villagers who were once beaming with personality and reluctance had to become homogenized and worship the player, who they are now second to. Whatever rules you enact, wherever you put their house, what you make them wear, how you decorate the town, they just have to be okay with it, leading to the common complaint that the villagers are now too mindless and agreeable, which from a design standpoint makes sense. The customization now comes before the simulation. In the old games, the social aspects were much more prominent, and the challenge of the game overall felt like finding peace and purpose in a village where you, as the human, clearly didn't fit and had next to no control. A reminder that the concept behind the series was inspired by Iguchi's move to a new town and the feelings that came with it. I'm not trying to turn this into a debate over which is better, no, that's in the retrospectives. But since the new games, literally New Leaf and New Horizons, focus on the player, it's obvious as to why Nintendo would want to adhere to our rules as much as possible. What I want to make clear is that it also meant they had to give up their own. And the biggest, most heartbreaking example has to be Mr. Rossetti. After fans complained about him in Wild World, City Folk put a warning in the game's manual, then New Leaf made his whole existence optional, and finally in New Horizons, we all know how it ends. So sad to me that the character who was iconic and innovative met his end at the means of crying fans, but the same can be said for a lot of what the Animal Crossing series lost in service of the masses. The trade-off in becoming more popular was that it had to leave behind the ideas it was founded on, the authenticity of what Nintendo originally had planned. This is something that happens when a lot of games become popular, or even television shows, or even music artists. Taylor. Again, I'm not saying that the series and developers don't deserve the success, especially when the continuity literally thrives on sales. And I'm not saying that New Horizons or a sandbox setup in general is bad. Not in this video. New Horizons sold over 40 million, so it's definitely making someone happy. But the game series that started with you making a home in a forest town now has you acting like a god and making it for everyone else. It's less original, less charming. I can name so many games that let you do things like this, but easier and faster, but not a single one that comes close to the personality and vibe of Animal Forest. So if the developers are gonna listen to the fans' advice, then please don't make the tools break in the next game, or I am going to fight someone. Speaking of fighting someone, I think the popularity boost had another interesting side effect, and probably the one that's brought up more often, but we've already talked about that. Now, for all the benefits that come with Animal Crossing being as famous as it is, as much cash as it rakes in, it's still very bizarre how little Nintendo has done with it. Because how long did Nintendo update it? A year and a half. And how many of the old games have been re-released to modern markets? Just two, these two, which will be discontinued next month. Demand has already been eating up the GameCube version, and I promise these guys are next in line. Bitches be like, Animal Crossing is so accessible, so easy to pick up and play. That one is. Nintendo has yet to modernize any of them, even the original Animal Forest, which could very simply go on Japanese Switch Online. It's like, dude, don't you know how much everyone loves this? You could at least give it more updates, not that we need new content, but there's still countless ways to improve the game. You'd figure since rather than wait between entries, they could literally correct as they go with this one. Well, they'd still be going. But nope, New Horizons is in the Switch graveyard now. Let's end this on a positive note. Animal Crossing's popularity means a lot. A bigger budget for future games, higher priority on future consoles, more peace in the world, and merch. Yeah, if you told 16-year-old me buying an Animal Crossing shirt for $30 at Hot Topic that I'd eventually be able to buy one at Walmart for $8, I'd be like, no. And yet, here it is, Walmart, Target, Best Buy, it's not just everything, it's everywhere. And get this, when I check out, the people are like, oh, this is from Animal Crossing, I love that game. And I'm like, oh, you know what that is. On New Leaf, I had less than 10 friends I knew IRL playing the game with me. With New Horizons, I had hundreds. It's now easier than ever to connect with people about this series that I love so much, and it's a general benefit to mental health everywhere, so I'm very happy to see it taking over as much as it... Damn it, I keep forgetting about that.